New patch, new MagSorc resolution. Let's make a MagSorc work with the pet and not invest highly into mag. Sounds like pure blasphemy? Trust me, it works. Don't believe me? Let's take a look at that montage. Alright, cool beans. Hope you guys enjoyed that small montage. I'm Hex. I'm going to be going over my updated 1vx MagSorc build for the Scribes of Fate patch. Honestly, MagSorc, I'm just going to say it is my baby. I mained the MagSorc back in day one of console release. For the most part, MagSorc 1vx is really rough. Hard to say that MagSorc was the best 1vx mag build. Probably the best 1vxer in the whole game at one point for many years. Don't get me wrong, in a group, amazing. Like, this thing is really annoying in a group, especially when you got like 3 MagSorcs just ranging you down from a mile away. But for 1vxing, it's a little rough. But hopefully with this build, I'm gonna shed some light to that. Not only does it come with the meta tankiness, meta damage, it comes with probably the best survivability you'll see on a Sorc, because honestly, on Sorc, healing is a little sus. But with the heal that is the Twilight, we throw that little susness out the window. But before we get started, if you guys hit the subscribe and like button, it really does go a long way, and I greatly do appreciate it. Also leave a comment what video I should do next. But without further ado, let's streak our way into the build. First skill we do run is Haunting Curse. This is obviously our pre-placed burst. The whole thing about Sorc is that you can just pre-place a bunch of bursts. Next we do run Summon Twilight Matriarch, or most commonly referred to as the Bird Heal or Twilight Heal. I will be going more over this skill when I go over the back bar, but for now let's just continue on the front bar. For the front bar we do run Mage's Fury. This is probably a pre-placed execute. Either morph is fine. Now that they buffed Mage's Wrath is a very, very strong alternative. Before I used to run Endless Fury all the time. The sustain was amazing, but Mage's Wrath does that execute damage to everything around you. This thing can scale really high. It can hit really, really hard. You want more damage in an AoE when you pop somebody? Mage's Wrath. But if you want more sustain, Endless Fury. Trust me, almost 5k mag when we don't have to kill them. As long as they die within 5 seconds of getting hit, all that mag back. Next we do run Crushing Shot. This is basically our spammable. Also really good for interrupting a target, especially those dark dealing Sorcs. This is the reason why we got rid of dark deal on this build. Next we do run Crystal Frags. I mean, this is the bread and butter burst of a Sorc. When you proc a frag, you're setting up the burst. You only go off the proc, and this thing does a lot of damage, over 66% more damage. And next is our ultimate. Honestly, Shooting Star was working wonders. Like, this thing hits really hard. The thing about this, you can't avoid this. Unlike Dawnbreaker, you can miss it. You have to be within melee range. With this, I can cast this from a mile away, and those Nightblades that just try to cloak it, they get absolutely deleted by this. It's so funny. I love it. Yes, I run the Shooting Star morph. I prefer flame damage and ulti gen over the snare and slightly more damage. You have to realize that a majority of players in PvP are vampires, so we're going to be doing bonus damage on them regardless with the flame damage. If not, we're going to shred them regardless because they don't have undeath. Obviously, if you want to run Dawnbreaker, you obviously can run Dawnbreaker. Either one's fine. Dawnbreaker does cost cheaper, it does hit slightly harder, and obviously it has a nice dot onto it. For the back bar, we do run Hardened Ward. I'm just going to mention this does scale off your max health or max mag now. This will be important later when I go over the stat sheets, trust me. But for now, next we do run Balanced Storm. This is basically how we get our armor buff. Put us a small dot around us that can hit the enemy, and obviously gives us major expedition. Next we do run Resolving Vigor. This is obviously our burst hot, heal a lot over 5 seconds, and grants us minor resolve. And next we do run Streak. This is what gives the definition of a Sorc. Instantly teleport, doing damage, and for whatever reason stunning them for 3 seconds, and it's unblockable. You may be wondering why is this on the back bar? It's because we just can't fit it on the front bar. It just doesn't work. You still can bust out the Streak combo with it. It's a little weird with the bar swapping, but trust me, there's just no room. Like, all these skills in the front have to be here. I don't know if you want to put an execute on the back bar. Could work actually, but eh. And next, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we do run the Summon Twilight Matriarch. So we do have to have this double slotted, because if you only slot this on one bar and you bar swap, it kills the thing. So if I cast this right here, boom, baby's up, bar swap, it's not on my bar, it goes away. So that's why we need to have it double barred. and then you have to recast it for a second and a half, and well, you're basically dead to rights at that point. So basically, the whole thing does damage to people. The main thing is once you cast this again, once it's activated, it heals you for a lot. Look at that, it heals itself and you and up to 2 allies. And it's really, really good at being a sponge. This thing has ate so many meteors and abilities, like it's crazy. Just be careful because this thing can die. So if it does die, you have to recast it and go through that whole channel time. And obviously in our back bar, we do run Temporal Guard, just mainly for the simple passive of grants minor protection while slaughtered. Obviously, if you don't want to grind Citric, honestly, because I understand that grind is pretty abysmal, you could just run the rest ult. Yeah, the one, I don't know what more gives you major force, but run that one. All right, but enough of that. Let's go over the stat sheets. So there are 2 stat sheets for this build, depending on what mythic you want to run. So I will briefly be going over both of them. So the main one I do run is Markin. So the stat sheets with Markin real quick. Max mag almost at 29k, max health over 32k, max damage is shy of 20k, mag recap over 1500, and our spell damage fully proc, let's just proc up our spell damage. Fully proc spell damage is at 4576, our spell crit 42.4%, and our penetration is over 7.7k. We do have access to major breach and potential minor breach, which is almost an extra 10k penetration. And for our resist real quick on our back bar, spell resist at 31.5k, physical resist at 26.3k, and our crit resist is over 3700. We are incredibly tanky, especially against crits. But for those that do prefer death dealers, look at that. Max mag over 31.7k, max health over 35k, max dam over 22k now. And our recos are the same. Spell damage does go a little lower. Spell crit should be about the same. Yeah, there you go. See, pop drop. Penetration the same. And our resist on our back bar do drop a little bit though. 29.2k spell resist, over 24k physical resist. But our crit resist is the exact same. So up to you personally. So for the attributes, I do go 44 points in the mag and 20 points in the health. Obviously, we do run B with Sugar Skulls on this build. So we do run the attribute, increases our mag recap by over 300. Honestly, really good on this build since we don't have access to dark conversion. But obviously, if you feel like you're the best MagSorc in the world, sustain's not an issue for you, then you could probably go the Shadow and just do absolutely ridiculous amounts of damage. And obviously, we are a stage 3 vampire for one simple passive, Undeath. The lower health we are, the tankier we become. And for my race, I am a Breton. Obviously, Gift of Madness, 2k max mag, spell attunement, increases our spell resist by over 2300, which doubles if we are afflicted with Burning, Chilling, and Cuss. And with all the LE sus and mag DKs out there, we're permanently having this up. So over 4600 spell resist from this passive. And if that wasn't enough, a passive on top of a passive increases our mag recap by 130. Just here you go for free. And obviously the race defining passive, Magicka Mastery, reduces the mag cost of our abilities by 7%. Honestly, Breton is just highly invested into mag sustain. Obviously some great alternatives. Khajiit would be perfect for this build. We do have insane amount of crit chance. High Elf could maybe work. Dark Elf would probably be better than High Elf, but honestly still pushing it there. Honestly, I'd probably stay away from the other races, to be honest. Alright, but enough of that. Let's go over the sets now. So the first set we do run is good old Rallying Cries. I mean, Rallying Cries is a powerful 5-piece while Battle Spirit is active. So anytime you can kill a player, Battle Spirit is active. So just to prevent it from being used in PvE land. Gain 300 weapon and spell damage and 1650 crit resist for 20 seconds. That's 25% critical damage reduction from the bonus damage of crits. The thing about this, you can actually affect allies with this too, at a quote-unquote reduced potency. But I mean, that's still a lot of weapon and spell damage between both of you, or however many people you proc this on, and crit resist. And the cooldown is shorter than the actual uptime, so like you can have permanent uptime on this thing, to be honest. And obviously for the monster set, we do run good old Engine Guardians. I mean, when you think of MagSorc, you think of Engine Guardian, especially any OG Sorcs. Gives you a chance to proc this little Dwemer that gives you resources, 550 stam or mag, or almost 2200 health every half second for 6 seconds. The thing about this is that this thing summons a Dwemer that the enemy can actually hit. Yes, so this thing can actually go in between you and the enemy and actually take the hits for you. There have been so many times where this little thing has taken so many meteors and caps for me. That is the reason. So with 2 pets up, it's going to be really hard sometimes for the enemy to hit us. Obviously we do run One Piece training because this is a meta front bar back bar setup with a mythic. Why One Piece training? Because we do have 1 slot available, so why not slot training? Does give us the most max health for One Piece. And what mythic is that? There are 2 mythics actually. Obviously, Marker and Ring of Majesty, probably the better one in my opinion. You obviously can run Death Dealers perfectly fine. Thing about Marker that I prefer is 200 weapon of spell damage and 2300 armor off the rip. Here you go, don't have to build up. And the thing about this, Marker makes you tanky at all times, so that extra shield and health you're going to get from Death Dealers, you're pretty much already getting that from the armor in a way. But honestly, up to you. And trust me, I tried so many things. I have a lot of Markins and Death Dealers, trust me. I've been theory crafting my Sorc out. And for the main set we do run is Night Mother's Gaze. What exactly is Night Mother's Gaze? 2-piece crit, 3-piece weapon of spell damage, 4-piece crit, so 2 lines of crit. You already know it's got me sold. The 5-piece, when you deal critical damage, you apply major breach to the enemy, reducing their physical and spell resist by almost 6k. Look at that, 5948 for 4 seconds. No cooldown. Any crit can be from a dot, can be from our direct damage, doesn't matter. Obviously, if you are in a group, you might want to change this, since more than likely someone else might have access to major breach. So Elisus does give major breach. The DK Stand Breath, Noxious Breath gets major breach. So yeah, if anyone in a group has that, for the most part, you can swap this to spinners. But if you are truly in a 1vx scenario, it's just you. Whatever you got is what you got, and that's the only thing that's going to hit the enemy. So that's why it's better to have a little bit more pen for ourselves. But obviously, if you're in a group, spinners. So the way we run it, we do have an Inferno Staff of Night Mother's Gaze. When it is our Stam enchant, Sharpen, because in PvP, penetration is king. For the back bar, we do run a Rallying Cry Resto with a Prismatic Onslaught enchant, defending because tankiness is next to godliness. Sorry about that. I realized that I had put the wrong weights in the wrong order. So the right way to run it is we do run 4-2-1, 4 light, 2 heavy, 1 medium. So we do run a light helm of Engine Guardian, light sash of Night Mother's Gaze, and light hands and feet of Rallying Cry. For my 1 medium, I do run a medium legs of Night Mother's Gaze, and for my heavy, I do run a heavy shoulders of Engine Guardian and a heavy chest of Night Mother's Gaze. So for the enchants, if you can, try set all the pieces. If you can't do that, try set the big pieces. What I mean by that is head, chest, and legs. And if you can't do that, max mag is perfectly fine. Just adjust your health attributes at the end. And for the traits, 1 reinforce, 6 impen. The only reinforce we have is a heavy chest reinforce of Night Mother's Gaze. Obviously, we are running Rallying Cry, so if you do want less impen, you could go well fitted. You could go another heavy reinforce piece. Up to you personally. That's what I like about builds. We fit to our playstyle. So before we go into the jewelry, just remember, now that shields have been reworked to scale off either max mag or max health, we don't have to heavily invest in the max mag anymore. We can invest into other things. So on the jewelry, we do run a Rallying Cry neck, Ring of the Training, and a Mark and Ring of Majesty, because it only comes in a ring, duh. 2 infuse with weapon and spell damage enchants, preferably the ones that grab mag recub, but obviously if they have stand recub with it, doesn't really make or break the build. And for the last one, Bloodthirsty with the reduced mag cost. We don't have to spec fully into max mag anymore. We can actually get a lot of damage off our enchants now from our jewelry, which is really insane, to be honest. And honestly, Bloodthirsty with Endless Fury is kind of nasty. That's why we run Bloodthirsty. Obviously, if you are having a little bit more sustain issues, I would probably go a second Bloodthirsty reduced mag cost. And for the food we do run, there actually are 2 options you could run. Bewitched Sugar Skulls. Gives us a lot of max health, max stam, and mag. And if you want to hear a joke, grants us some health recovery. This food makes this hit really hard. But if you are getting your brains completely zerged out like I was, you could swap over to Orzhovka's. I swapped between the both, honestly, and they both have their pros and cons. Orzhovka's recub is amazing, damage not as hard. Bewitched Sugar Skulls, some crazy damage. The only problem is the sustain not as good. Obviously for Bewitched, you could run the purple food, Longfish Pastry, and for Orzhovka's, you could obviously run Jewels and Mistrope. And for the pots we do run is good old Alliance spell pots with crit. Basically, this is how we get our major sorcery and major prophecy. This is our 20% spell damage, and since sorcerers have 6% spell crit, this is how we get 12% spell crit, and synergizes very well because it gives us a burst of mag and some good old mag recov. You can either craft them yourself or you can just buy the Alliance ones from the AP vendor. Alright, but enough of that, let's go over the CP now. Alright, so for the blue CP, we do run Fighting Finesse, increases critical damage, critical healing. Focus Mini, increases our healing done with single target heals. Fun fact, this actually does increase the heal of our bird for some reason. Mastered Arms, increases our damage done with direct damage attacks. And Ironclad, reduces our damage taken from direct damage attacks. And for the red CP, I mean typical Hex Seal of Approval red CP. Celerity, increases our movement speed by 10%. Honestly, in my opinion, the best CP in the entire game. On this one, we do run Bastion, increases the effectiveness of our damage shields, but also increases our damage done to enemies with shields. Next, we do run Relentlessness, being standard for your causes to gain major protection for 3 seconds. and Pain's Refuge. The more net effects we have active on us, the tankier we become. And for the green CP, doesn't ever really matter. Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, and Steed's Blessing. But alright, cool beans, that's the build. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Honestly, MagSorc, it's my pride and joy. My day one, I've done everything. All my first came with MagSorc. My first 1vx, my first time getting XV1, my first time ever XV1ing somebody, Amp, everything you can imagine. MagSorc was the first I did it on. So going from like back in the day from the glass cannon, and it wasn't even a glass cannon. Like, your shields were so like unbelievably tanky back in the day, like it was crazy. But Sorc has definitely changed. Probably not for the best, but this is what we got. First time I ever do run a pet Sorc, and honestly the pet Sorc heal is honestly pretty nasty. Not gonna lie, it's pretty nice. That Twilight took so much damage from me, it was insane. It ate so many end caps and abilities, like it's crazy. But yeah, as always, hope you guys did enjoy the build video. Like the video if you liked it, comment your thoughts or experiences with the build. Also anything I might have missed out, what video I should do next. Subscribe for more, but most importantly, stay Zerging.